Welcome here again to the channel of Realize to Actualize, where the main point of what I'm talking about here is the idea of learning. And it is a kind of learning that is very different from what we are used to or what we know about learning. The learning that I'm talking here about is experiential, as we experience, and through experience we learn. And also it is really the learning about other people, the learning about ourselves. So it is more emotional in nature. It is more a learning in terms of getting to know ourselves. That is something, well, that you cannot really teach, of course. You can tell nobody, this is who you are. But the point is that we can become aware of it for ourselves. And so this learning is actually that. It's a becoming aware of. Who am I really? And then it is, of course, also a learning about other people. How can I get to know you? How can I understand you? How can I learn you? And this is a whole new way of operating in the world, a whole new way of conducting ourselves in relationships, which actually are about relating to one another. And that is how we learn. That is how we get to know each other. That is how we get to know ourselves, through being with other people. Especially when things are difficult with other people. When the other person is doing something or saying something you do not agree with, or you do not like, or something that upsets you, or triggers you, that is the greatest opportunity for you to learn. Of course, about understanding the other person, where they're coming from and what they really mean, because many times we misunderstand. We only go by our own impressions and perceptions of what the other person is doing. We have a tendency of comparing that to ourselves, through which we really misunderstand, through those impressions and perceptions. In order to really understand another person, we need to open ourselves up to really find out where you're coming from. What do you mean by that? What is your motivation behind that? But then also it's important to understand that when something upsets us about another person, it is not really about the other person. It is about ourselves. Because the behavior or the remark or what we see in the other person triggers something within us. It is something that we see. And when something upsets us about another person, it is really important to look within ourselves and find why am I being triggered right now? Why am I being triggered to react in a negative way? Why does it upset me? Because the truth of the matter is that we cannot change people. People are the way they are. All we can do, and also to remind you of that again, this is the very important insight here. It's so fundamental, most people don't even look at that. But all we are here to do is to learn from each other. And we cannot do that if we are being triggered by another person and we react to what we see in another person negatively. So what I'm suggesting here is the next time that happens, you take a breath, you step back a little bit, and you ask yourself, what's happening here? Why am I being triggered? Why am I reacting negatively? Because usually it's the triggers have to do with some experience in the past. Something that has a bad feeling, or something that is, we associate a bad feeling or bad memory with that. And we might see something in the other person or hear a remark, something that reminds us of something that happened in the past, and so we are being triggered. But this only has to do with ourselves. It is all about ourselves. The reality of this world and the reality that we create is a result of what we see, what we focus on. What we think about is that which creates our reality. And so awareness or presence of mind is possible only if we allow for things to be the way they are. If we accept people the way they are. And through this, only through this can we really learn them. Can we get to know them? Can we develop a relationship as we allow them to relate themselves to us? And this really has nothing to do if we agree with what the other person is saying or doing, or even if we like it. It has nothing to do with that. Because these are only our own standards and our own value judgments, which really keep us from fully understanding who the other person is. And again, coming back to that, that's the point here of the art of learning, of realize to actualize, of the practice of, learning